We survived the Cornfield Party Massacre, escaped an execution, and now we're attending the Church of Frendo. Quinn has just survived yet another bloody run-in with the murderous Clown Frendo, but somehow still she knows this won't be the last. Tired of being hunted and seeing innocent people hurt, Quinn believes the only way to beat the horror is to take justice into her own hands and stop the Frendo followers herself. The first Clown in the Cornfield book was a straightforward slasher. Frendo Lives was inspired by mob mentality and surrounded itself in a convoluted but well-done conspiracy. But the Church of Frendo takes a different direction by taking Frendo and turning the mascot into a place of worship. This is a really interesting third entry. It takes the series into a new direction I wasn't really expecting, and Adam Caesar makes it work by giving more focus on New Cal Springs and the gradual changes that shifted the town after the events of Frendo Lives, while following Quinn as she slowly discovers the mystery behind our new batch of characters. There's a good balance between both storylines as we follow Tabitha in Cal Springs, a 15-year-old devoted Christian that is forced to live in a town that has completely changed their ways worshipping Frendo. It's keeping the tradition of having ever-increasing stakes while introducing this new Cal Springs, a village where old towns were replaced by settlers with others forced to embrace their situation in order to stay alive. Here's a fun fact, I had no clue that this was a completely different town than the real Cal Springs until chapter 15, and yeah, I felt real dumb for a couple minutes. Quinn is the only returning character in the main story this time around, and I really enjoy her arc. I love how done she is of hunting down the Frendo cult. It's mentioned several times that she's been hunting them for a year, and I love how it's described in detail how tired she is. It's an obvious route to take the character, but I think this is the best Quinn has been as a character. She wasn't really the main focus of Frendo Lives until the last half, so to see Church focus on her from start to finish was cool. I like how she's haunted by Ghost Arthur. It's not only a clever way of keeping him involved in the story, but goes to show just how much of an impact he left on her despite the two never sharing the same room outside the first book's finale. I love that she sacrifices herself to kill Jason, and I like how the book leaves her fate ambiguous. I firmly believe that she isn't dead, no matter how hard Adam Caesar tries to convince the readers in the acknowledgments section. That girl has been through hell and back just to die in a Frendo effigy, and I swear, Adam, if she's not in the next book, I will hunt you down, full-on Frendo costume and all. Side note, that was a joke. Please don't sue me. This third installment introduces 6 new characters in Tabitha, Vivian, Gabriel Dozer, Johnny D. Lawson, and the pastor, Jason Alton. I like Tabitha. She strikes a perfect balance of Quinn and Jerry. She's privately terrified of the town, but goes out of her way to help people any way she can. I wouldn't say she's as interesting as either girls, but the book does a great job fleshing out her character, and there's moments where I genuinely felt bad for her. And I like that her arc ends with saving the children from New Cal Springs. From the moment Tabitha is introduced, the other kids are described as Hellions, and I like that in a moment where everything is no holds barred, Tabitha sees that the loud Hellions in her classroom that have her surrounded are at the end of the day just children, as they're wearing makeshift masks and are covered in martyrs. It's also nice to see that she looks out for them in the epilogue. I wonder if the 4th book will keep her around if Quinn is truly dead. Gabriel doesn't do much as a character, but he's used really greatly to add to the horror of this new setting. I love that it's established by Quinn that he and his wife are pro wrestlers, and that just perfectly explains why he's a big-ass buff dude, and the fact that he gets killed quickly by Quinn is pretty funny. Johnny D is probably my favorite new character. He's some very much needed comic relief, and I like his dynamic with Quinn. His intro was a bit off-putting, and I was worried how he was going to be written, but after Colby and Taylor kill his half-brother as well as their 2 friends, and he meets Quinn, he gradually started to grow on me. The road trip aspect of the book is handled well, and it's mostly because of how well written the short conversations are between the two. And I like that Quinn opens up to him more in between her struggles of having Ghost Arthur haunting her. I don't necessarily like that their relationship isn't strictly platonic, because it doesn't really make sense for Quinn's character at this point of the series. I do like that she feels remorse after his death. Johnny's death is probably the saddest one in the book, simply because it was unexpected. He's the perfect unlikely hero character that Russ once was, who went above and beyond to save a girl he met no more than a few days ago. So for him to get dispatched so quickly, with Quinn sitting by his side until he dies, is really sad, but an honorable way to go out. And the fact he has the highest kill count in the book is pretty insane. Vivian's a character I definitely wasn't expecting to like. She's introduced in such an odd place in the book, but gradually won me over as her place in the story started to unravel. She's the mother of Janet, and she was one of the many residents in Cal Springs that were arrested due to being an accomplice. I like how her guilt over Janet's death is handled. The book explains that while she let it happen, she was pretty much forced to keep quiet by Mr. Murray, named Alec in this book. There's a lot of regret expressed in her sections, and the one thing I think that is a missed opportunity is the conversations her and Quinn have in the jail. It's one of the rare times where it feels justified to have Quinn go off on her, but it's just boiled down to she shouts various swears at her, since it's from the perspective of Tabitha. I feel like there should have been a lot more oomph, considering that the Cornfield Massacre ruined both of their lives. But I do like how her death is executed. Having her succumb to getting beaten to a bloody pulp by the doped up followers is really well done and a sad way for her arc to end. And lastly, I think Jason Alton is a really solid protagonist. Or not protagonist, okay. And lastly, Jason Alton is a really solid main antagonist. While it's kept a mystery for most of the book, I like how charismatic he is and how much he indulges in spreading the word of Frendo. We get a healthy amount of both the man and the facade he parades around town as, and I love that he's not a full-blown villain like Arthur or Dunn. His whole character being a metaphor for grifters and bringing a plague onto the village and taking it over is well done, and I like how simple his motive is. To keep it short, he did it as a last resort since his other scams weren't making him a profit. He used Frendo and Arthur Hill's death as a way to turn what happened to Cal Springs into a full-on religion, which involved invading an isolated community, killing and replacing most of the town people with his followers. The fact that he used Arthur's corpse as a host and fed his followers pieces of his embalmed body is by far the grossest thing to happen in this series, and is genuinely unsettling. He reminds me of a much eviler Monsignor Pruitt from Midnight Mass. But instead of turning an island to vampires, he turned a village into doped up cannibals that don't even know where they are after consuming Arthur. Okay, so maybe he is a villain. I love that he just turns into a scared little bitch when Quinn confronts him, and his death is definitely one of the more deserving fates as he's burned alive in the Frendo effigy. I don't think he's as compelling as Arthur or Dunn, since his motive is just to profit off of the Frendo cult, and he barely shares any page time with Quinn, but I like that he's willing to go as far as to wear Arthur's face and killing the old townspeople in order to get his faith across. Can't really say the same for the other bad guys, though. The book introduces a killer duo in Colby and Taylor, two boys going around as Mormons killing people on Quinn's list and framing her for murder. It's a subplot that fits with the overall story since it is what leads Quinn to Johnny D, but then it evolves into Taylor being attracted to Vivian, which causes him to betray Colby, and it's a solid idea, but it doesn't quite hit well since there's not enough of them in the book. They only appear to kill people, and the one scene they do have alone together is a simple one's crazier than the other dynamic, which is kind of lame to me. And the other villains aren't necessarily threatening and are mainly there to be fodder, which was fine for Frendo Lives, but I think this book needed two antagonists rather than just Jason. The book doesn't really suffer from not having Glenn, Jerry, Russ, and Colin in main roles since most of the new characters are well written, but to me this really didn't need to be nearly 300 pages long. Once Johnny D and Quinn go their separate ways, the book really drags. It suffers from having too many characters and having to jump back and forth in order for the final battle to line up. And there's one chapter that didn't really need to be there. It has to be 21, where it basically reveals Jason's motive. It makes the revelation to Quinn feel repetitive, and it's there to pad out an already long book. But at the same time, I think this is a solid ending for Quinn's story. It doesn't quite give her the fairy tale ending where she reunites with her friends and dad, but it leaves her as a survivor that is satisfied with her revenge. I love that it doesn't quite tell us where she is. The reunion between her and Glenn is going to hit like crack. I hope that in the fourth book, Adam can keep the focus on Glenn, Jerry, Russ, Cole, and Tabitha without trying to add so many new characters that would just end up dying by a friendo. And that seems to be the general consensus for this book. Judging by most of the reviews I've watched and read for both Frendo Lives and Church of Frendo, most of them think that this shouldn't have turned into a franchise, and honestly, I disagree. While I will agree that the weaker parts of the two books are the newer characters, I don't think the sequels are unnecessary. Frendo Lives offers a really unique sequel that expands upon the first book while exploring the trauma the three survivors endured. The Church of Frendo, while long, has a really solid message on grifting and false faith. If anything, I think both books could benefit from having a film adaptation, and I hope they do, since there are some great ideas presented in these books. It's also why I'm strongly advocating for the movie to do well. It's been a while since we've had an original slasher that wasn't harping on the trend of being meta or genre bending, and it looks to be made with a lot of love towards the book. Overall, while it's definitely the weakest out of the three books, I still enjoy my time with the Church of Frendo. It has a lot of great moments with Quinn, an interesting new setting, and a gradual increase in being gross that isn't just there for the sake of it. When it suffers in pacing, it's very noticeable, but it quickly bounces back from it and ends off on a high note. So for right now, I'm going to give Church of Frendo a solid 7 out of 10, another good entry in this series. Just to end off, I really enjoyed my time with the Clown In A Cornfield books. While they don't offer anything new in the slasher subgenre, Adam Caesar does a good job both laying out the story in each book and then escalating it again and again until it hits a proper climax. The first book is probably still my favorite out of the three, but that's purely because of how much it shocked me reading through it the first time. That shift from a story about a girl moving into a new town that's seemingly not on the up and up to a teen getting brutally murdered, which ignites a whole night of carnage, is so good and is what made the first book so unique to me. And while Frendo Lives and the Church of Frendo are still really solid books, I think they don't ever surpass the first book. Don't get me wrong, all three books have problems, but it doesn't really falter my enjoyment of them. The day this video comes out will be the day the movie releases, and I'm very excited to see how this adaptation is handled. From the trailers, it's looking to be a faithful adaptation while also trying some new things. I won't be able to review it right away, but for right now, I'm Zach Roseman, and if your small town is graced by the presence of a pastor looking to spread his faithful word, kill him.